So we are here in Wright Square, and this is the square that the Creek Indian chief Tomochichi was buried under this monument here, who is to someone other than Tomochichi. Tomochichi was the Creek chief that James Oglethorpe negotiated with in the settling of Creek lands and created the state of Georgia. Tomochichi was an outcast of the Creek Indians. I believe it had something to do with the Yamasee War in the early 1710s or so. Don't know the year exactly. But here in the corner is his current monument. Again, we are here in Wright Square. I came to Savannah on a whim, specifically because the azaleas are blooming. And y'all will see here shortly when we go to Laurel Grove and Bonaventure Cemetery why I came at this time of year. It is March 8th, and this is about when they bloom. So this huge monument that is where Tomochichi was buried was to the railroad guy, William Washington Gordon. I don't really have much business in Savannah. We're here for the cemeteries, but this is a really, really unique city in Georgia. You can drink on the street here. I'm gonna go check out one more square. So I didn't plan on coming in here, but this is Colonial Park Cemetery. This is one of the oldest cemeteries in Savannah. A lot of these brick monuments that you see are a real old school classic style monument for the times, 1700s. And if you live in Gwinnett County in Georgia, this is Button Gwinnett's grave. Obviously not his original monument. If you collect Declaration of Independence signatures, he died in a duel shortly after signing the Declaration of Independence, and he is one of the rarest signatures. As with most old cemeteries, when you're walking through here, the graves look sparse, but more than likely, these grounds are chock full of graves. And we are walking up to, granted there's some construction, but we are walking up to a wall where all the fallen stones, if they didn't know where they were, they set them here along this wall. This is a really cool effect here. Really love this. We'll be at Bonaventure later on in the cemetery, but took a tour a couple years ago with Bonaventure Don. Look him up on Facebook. Really cool guy, knows a lot about the cemetery. And he mentioned you gotta come when the azaleas are in bloom. And I was like, noted. And so here we are. And this is just beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I wonder if I can film in there. One cool thing about Savannah is it was designed on like a park system or something. There's all these little parks all through the city. And some of these Airbnbs are really, really beautiful. Not Airbnbs, B&Bs. The B&Bs. I think I stayed in that one. Yeah, Hamilton Turner Inn, that top right room. So we are in Montgomery Square, and this is the Pulaski monument. It was carved by Robert Launitz, kind of there in the bottom right. You might not be able to see it on the screen, but he's got monuments that he carved in Memory Hill, which is in a previous video, as well as Greenwood Cemetery in New York. At all other times through the year, these are just green bushes. But if you come in early March, all the azaleas are in bloom, and it makes for a beautiful place to be. If you're debating between Charleston and Savannah, your money goes a lot further in Savannah. On to Tybee Island. This is Fort Pulaski, in between Savannah and Tybee Island. I don't have enough time to read signs and tell you anything about it, but went into the visitor center and got a quick download from the guy running the visitor center. This thing started in response to something the British did in 1812, and this was built, and then the Union took it in the Civil War, and then it was abandoned after the war, and in 1924 they turned it into a national monument. And so I got a patch, that's the centennial patch from the visitor center. Anyway, apparently the location of this fort is able to defend the two rivers that enter into Savannah. And these are the earthenworks here. Gotta wonder who built them, huh? Got this new tattoo here, and just in my little bit of walking around Savannah and this. Tomorrow is, we'll deal with tomorrow. It's super windy, but this is Tybee Island. This is the Atlantic Ocean here. We're in the Georgia Bight. So Savannah is about a half hour from the coast, and Tybee Island's the closest. And for about 20 bucks more, you can stay here as opposed to staying at a boring little Holiday Inn off an interstate exit. All about that salt life. Here's a cool little opportunity. My hotel room has a map. So Savannah is about here. Tybee Island is way out here. So I'm staying way out here. It's about a 30-minute ride into Savannah, up the Savannah River here. Laurel Grove Cemetery is kind of over here. You can't really see it on the map. Bonaventure Cemetery is right around here. Then I walked into my hotel room and there's this huge map on the wall, and I just think it's really, really neat. It's got all sorts of info that I don't know how to read, but you know, little Tybee Island out here. And a lot of this, all this is marsh. So if you want to hit the beach in Georgia, there's only little specific areas that you can go to. One of them being Tybee Island. It's kind of the most accessible island out of Savannah. But you can also see the square system that I described here in the map. It's March 9th, a little after 7:30 in the morning. We're at Laurel Grove Cemetery. Everyone in Savannah always talks about Bonaventure. Have you been to Laurel Grove? Well, I've been to Bonaventure. That's not what I asked. In my opinion, Laurel Grove Cemetery is at the same level, if not even better than Bonaventure. maybe at the same level. I took a tour of Bonaventure and it really grew on me, but everyone wants to go to Bonaventure. 90% of the people I ask don't know about Laurel Grove, and I'll show you why I love Laurel Grove so much. All the trees here are covered in Spanish moss. And these graves here have some ironwork, or whatever you want to call it, some fencing going around it for some plantings. Even though they clearly don't have any plantings, they do have some Spanish moss growing on them. Beautifully carved stones. This whole plot here is all for sailors. I don't know these things, I just read the signs. Again, I did not do any research on this video. I saw the azaleas were in bloom and I hopped in the truck and drove down here. You can see some of these brickworks here that we saw at Colonial Park. You can kind of really get lost in a sea of graves here. It's a real muggy day, and I'm hoping the rain holds off. I think it will. We're coming up on one of my favorite little sections here in the cemetery. One of a couple. And it is this angel here. Absolutely beautiful. And right next to it is a bell. If you get buried alive, I'm assuming that's what this is, you can pull a little string tied to your toe and ring that bell. But just the carving on this angel is incredible. Wings. This is one of my favorite monuments here in Savannah. The gift of God is eternal life through Jesus Christ our Lord. Another beautiful little monument right across the way from that angel. Is this Gilmer Minis thingamajig. Really love the sarcophagus here with the lion's feet. There's so many beautiful monuments here. I can really just, no one really remembers all the history facts you give them, you know? But I think everyone can appreciate some beauty in a cemetery monument, so. A lot of the monuments through here have all these ferns and moss growing up through them. Did a little bit of reading online last night about how the cemetery was formed in 1818 but didn't open until 1853. I'm certainly not trying to speak on that with any authority whatsoever. I just pulled up the Wikipedia page and said, what sort of little tidbits can I get? Hey, look, they're doing restoration work. That's really cool. And the chrysanthemums, I believe that's what those are. They're on the tail end of things. So if you come a week early, the chrysanthemums are in bloom, and then it's the azaleas. This is what I mean. Look at all this look at all these ferns, and it's really cool. It's just like growing through the stones. 1888, 1876. You can see that angel back there. Here's another monument that I think about every once in a while. It's really nice that it rained, because some of these monuments really pop when they're wet. Pile of stones. Died 25 years old. And some of these monuments are just really huge too. Look at the size, the height. This mausoleum. Maybe we can see inside the door. Knock, knock. They died in 1819. If that Wikipedia page is right, they were reinterred here into Laurel Grove at some point. Lots of beautiful ironwork throughout the cemetery. It's sprinkling a little bit, but not enough to put a damper on the day. I don't know what that is, but that's pretty. That's probably just a green bush the rest of the time of the year. Look at all this Spanish moss. Look at all this Spanish moss. This whole tree is covered in it. It's all bricked up. Looks to be a sedentary rock due to the weathering. I am not a geologist. Ooh, this is cool. Here's another monument here that's got a pile of stone beneath it. It's my understanding a pile of stone represents a life built on a solid foundation, which kind of feels a little ironic. Sometimes a pile of stone isn't all that steady. But it's pretty. Here's some more restoration work they've got going. This mausoleum here always makes me think of a castle or something, just the way the stones are rough cut. Here is one grave that I am grateful to have just wandered by. This is James Pierpont. He wrote Jingle Bells. Come on. I've been accused of being this before. If you are a Girl Scout, stop watching my videos. If you were a Girl Scout, this is the grave of Juliet Lowe, or Juliet Gordon Lowe. This is the founder of the Girl Scouts. There's a lot of beautiful monuments here on this plot as well. Very ornate. And again, this is why you gotta come in March. There's some beautiful flowers blooming. Son of a bitch. There's another consort. Ooh, I see a statue I want to go see. I always really like this mausoleum right here. It's really pretty. I don't know the architecture style, but it's pretty. Lawton, 1859. I've come back to probably one of my favorite little plots here in Laurel Grove, and it's this one. I just really love the gate, the staircases. the monuments. Down that way is that angel and the bell and the claw-footed sarcophagus. But for now, this will be it for Laurel Grove, and on to Bonaventure. And both of which are really pretty, both of which are worth seeing. If you've got time to kill in Savannah, if you've got time to go to Bonaventure, you've got time to come to Laurel Grove as well. We are now in beautiful Bonaventure Cemetery at the perfect time of year with the azaleas blooming. Came here a couple years ago, and I mentioned this at Colonial Park, but I'll mention it again. There's a man by the name of Bonaventure Don. You can find him on Facebook, and he gives an incredible tour of this cemetery. Going in, it's been a couple years, I don't remember, he said the tour was like an hour and a half or something like that, and I think we were here for 2.5 hours with him. He kind of came with this energy of, if y'all got time, I got time. And it was just awesome. And so, just going to be pointing out some beautiful monuments in terms of history and notable burials and stuff. I'm not even going to begin to do this place justice. If you want to come here and learn about the history, reach out to Bonaventure Don. Just all these azaleas are just so pretty. All the blooming and the Spanish moss. Laurel Grove had been around, and then Bonaventure was founded, and all the rich people reinterred themselves into here. All this color that you see are all the azaleas. Again, it is March 9th. If you want a little tip on, are the azaleas in bloom, go on Instagram and search by location and search recent photos in Savannah. They've got azaleas planted all through downtown, and you can see all the shutterbugs posting pictures of azaleas. When they are in bloom, it's time to come here. If you've ever been to Bonaventure, or you've looked up pictures of Bonaventure, one of the most famous or popular graves here is of Gracie. And the flowers aren't fully in bloom, but normally those are just green this time of year. They're blooming. She was carved by John Walls, who is also buried here. We'll go see him at some point. One thing I recommend when you do get here is just park and walk. There are roadways you can drive through here, but there's nothing like walking through this cemetery. Check out this huge obelisk here through the trees. Just all the Spanish moss, and just absolutely beautiful. Yes, yes, keep the crowds away. Getting eaten up by bugs. This is another beautiful monument here that I remember that Bonaventure Don guy talking about. No idea what he said about it, but if you really want to know, take his tour. My camera doesn't know how to handle this light. A couple monuments over here I remember some of the stories about. This one here, this used to be on an island out somewhere in the marsh, and this was moved. And then furthermore, the grave was robbed. You can see the breaks around the doorway. And they pried that door open, and or maybe they didn't get in, I don't know. Not here to have any sort of history knowledge, just point out just some of these beautiful monuments here. One thing I remember about this monument here is that it used to be at Laurel Grove and was moved here, if memory serves me correct. It's beautifully carved stone here. It's a huge cross right here. Really beautiful. And then a bust. General Robert H. Anderson. Some beautifully carved stones in here as well. I gotta find my truck. I've gotten lost. It's a triangle. Still trying to find my truck. It's in here somewhere. I'm close. Look at all these azaleas. There it is. Something tells me this is going to be one of my longer videos. I'm probably getting up to about 30 minutes now, just mentally thinking how I've filmed stuff. Well, I have barely scratched the surface on this place. I think that'll about do it here for Bonaventure. I may pass something on the way out that I want to show. And there is one last spot that I am going to go to. There's a couple cemeteries right next to Bonaventure. And there's one little spot, this little bench, and I think about it often. And I think that'll be a really beautiful place to end the video. Again, March is the best time to come to this cemetery. There's so much in bloom. Otherwise, green bushes are just popping with color. You really got to check it out. I drove about 20 feet and stopped. I knew I was going to see some stuff on the way out. Look at all these iron pots here and the little baby. Just really pretty. I realized I forgot to show one person. It's not him, but just all these monuments. Just consider this a long-winded outro to Bonaventure. And it's raining. And I'm not mad at it. It's really, really beautiful place to be. Should be easy enough to find where we're headed. I've seen pictures of it, and I've stood by it and listened to Bonaventure Don talk about him. I'm gonna go see John Walls. He was the carver of Gracie. I already see it. So this guy, this is John Walls. He is the carver of Gracie, and you can see the little hammer and pick and how his stone is not finished being carved. And apparently there's some missing walls, like he carved, or he signed all his monuments, and there's a couple that are missing. So if you can find the missing walls, let a man know. There's no way you can see it from this far, but there's like a bird on a branch way out there. Headed to the most northwestern tip of Forest Lawn Cemetery, which is right next to Bonaventure. And back here is the little bench. About every 4 or 5 months, I think about this bench and the epitaph. Maybe as we get closer, you can kind of see the bird. He's on that log. He's gonna fly off when I get close. There's 2 of them. They're fishing. There they go. I love it. And I think that's going to do it here. It's beautiful Savannah, Georgia, Chatham County, not Chatham, not Chatham, Chatham. Don't give yourself away that easily. Another day in the life.